Yeah, I like to think of change. No more gang banging, no more dope slanging. While they're hanging, I'm just saying, I'm just praying. Hey, praying for a sign. Time to get right and time to get my shine. So
Hello,
divine.
everyone.
The
This
Lord
is
and His
our
grace.
first episode of Real Talk It Takes a Village. Today we have Cherie, founder, executive director of the Real Talk Youth Impact Program, and our volunteer therapist, Dr. Keith. So we're going to start off and have them tell us a little more about themselves, who they are, and what they do.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome. Cherie here with the Real Talk Youth Impact Program, founder, executive director. I'm excited, as you can tell. I've been doing this now for 11 years. And just to give you a quick backdrop, the bottom line is Real Talk is in the business of saving lives. I'm born and raised out of California, LA area. I've been here in Nevada over 30 plus years. And I've been doing Real Talk for the last 11 years. We are excited about this brand new podcast we have. We want to make sure the world knows who we are, and we're looking forward to having more people like yourself tune in and listen to what we do and join our mission in helping saving kids' lives across the nation. And I'll leave it over to Dr. Keith to tell his story.
All right, greetings, everybody. My name is Dr. Keith Fairclough. I am the volunteer therapist with Real Talk. And for me, I am a therapist. I've been working with children, since 2009, maybe even a little bit earlier than that. But honestly, doing therapy and walking on my purpose, I've been doing that my entire life. My goal is to improve the world by improving you. So our missions align as far as working and volunteering with Real Talk. Within Real Talk, what I do is I work with the process group, helping the participants to go through their information, their workbooks, to help them get a little bit more depth from the program before they leave. And I also work within the parent group, helping parents to learn different strategies on how they can better connect with their children and reduce a lot of issues they have. And then in addition to that, I also work hand in hand with Cherie to help build this program, build out different aspects of the program so we can go and achieve that mission of helping children across this nation.
Okay, that's great. So I did want to quickly ask Cherie, what is the history of Real Talk? What led you from building this program from the ground up?
So my history, if I had 2 or 3 hours more, you'd probably get really, really excited to keep listening. But so I grew up in a family of 12 and 8 boys and 4 girls, and I was number 9. And growing up in the big family, you typically have issues within the family. And if anybody says they've never had issues growing up in a family, they're lying. Every parent every family that has a child, there is always something of significance that a family goes through, be it small to minor to devastating to traumatic. So my issues were seeing my siblings being involved in the criminal justice system. And so that sparked an interest with me at a young age, seeing the things that were happening around me, but not really understanding what was happening because I was a young girl. I was number 9 of 12. So, long story short, moving into my teenage years, I had already seen 6 of my siblings, or my brothers. There was 8 boys and 4 girls. 6 of my siblings enter this criminal justice system. Still fully not understanding what happened or why it was happening, but that was pretty much the reason behind me seeking to create this program. But not only that, it was this program is actually my calling. I know that, and that's why I abide in this calling. But that was the spark of what actually, and the reasons why I created Real Talk. On top of the Batistas, who are just extraordinary people, they put me in a position where I could never have been. Be it if they were not able to take me on and took me under their wings and introduced me to fast pitch softball and basically put me on a team where I made the team and would take me an hour to an hour and a half twice a week, driving me to practices and never asking for a dime from my parents. So that's a lot of the reason too why I give back, because they're responsible for me being here in Las Vegas, Nevada, had a softball scholarship and stayed here. And so I'm here to give back, and I have a whole different outlook on life as far as kids or people in general, but most specifically kids, where without opportunity, there's no change. Because if I didn't have that opportunity with the Batistas, I wouldn't be sitting here today and doing this podcast, having this program, and the experiences that I had as a child as well, it shaped who I am today and why I do what I do. Siblings going to prison, Batista's coming into my life, and not having the funds in my household to do the things that I wanted or have the things that I wanted. So this is the main reason why I created this program, and it's threefold. It allows kids to have opportunity for change. It's for me giving back, and it's also for me to help those people who've been incarcerated or system affected, to let them know that whatever they've done is not in vain, and they can always redeem themselves as productive citizens coming back, and all they have to do is share their testimonies with these kids so the kids won't make these mistakes.
It's amazing how your childhood experiences have helped led you here to Real Talk. And I wanted to quickly ask, what exactly is Real Talk?
So Real Talk essentially is an educational program. I say educational always at the beginning because a lot of times people forget that piece. They want to come for sponsorship for their activities. So it's a lot of things. It's a four-pronged approach. I look at it as community, family, ex-felons, and then our youth. And what we do is we change lives. This is a once-a-month program. My goal is to change anyone that comes through the program. I don't care if it's a parent, a child, a visitor, an ex-felon, or people from the system, friends that want to view the program. The goal is to change at least one life coming through the program. Our meetings once a month, and it's called Change One Meetings. Now, clearly, the focal point is the kids. So we have the kids meet once a month. We get kids from the courts. We get kids from the lay community. We get kids referred from softball, baseball teams here, or just from organizations to join our program. And what we do is we allow our folks who've been affected by the system to give 15 minutes of their testimony to the children to basically hope and steer them in the right direction. If they're off track, we're trying to get them on track. We're trying to prevent the kids from entering the system, and we're trying to prevent those kids from re-entering the system. So it's a proactive and reactive approach. And all these kids are placed in one big auditorium. And our speakers who have been through the system share their 15-minute story of what happened to them and why they ended up in prison or on probation. 2 males and a female, they share their story. And then we have a closing guest speaker that shares their testimony, and that's someone who's never been in trouble and never been arrested, and they can share how they became the successful folks that they are as citizens as well, be it doctors, attorneys, blue-collar workers. We've had judges here to speak on behalf of their careers. So that's part of the program. And then the second part of the program is we have a mandatory parent group. The mandatory parent group is for those parents that are struggling with how and what's happening and possibly in their home. Maybe they're not struggling. Maybe they just are here for referral, or they're looking for some advice to make certain that they can keep their children on track or child on track. So that's a mandatory piece, and we use our speakers, 2 males and a female, in that room to share their feedback to our parents. And I call my speakers doctorates of the streets because they have actually lived some of the things that the parents may be experiencing with their children. But on top of that, because we also want to make certain that we have professional resources, we have a therapist in the midst of the parent group. And the parent group is actually ran by our speakers. I want them to give raw feedback to the parents, but at the same time, I want to have the availability of having a professional counselor there just in case they need professional advice. Because my speakers are not therapists. What they are realists, as myself. And we want to make sure that I provide the realness, the rawness from the folks who are in the program, but also being able to have the therapist intervene when needed for professional advice, and even be there after the meeting where the parents can actually sign up for therapy with their family. So that's the second part of the program. And then the third part is, what Dr. Keith already discussed, we have a processing group. And the processing group is for those kids who are getting ready to graduate, and they review their workbook. And the workbook is based off of our 13 affirmations. And the kids have been instructed to complete their workbook during the first 3 months and then finish it at the last meeting, which is the 4th month. And that program or that actual group is amazing because the kids are able to share, if they choose, what they've written in their workbooks. And I believe in writing. I believe it's powerful, even if they don't want to talk to their family, if they don't want to talk to a therapist. The workbook includes setting goals. It includes the type of person that they want to be, or who they think they are. Do they matter? Do they respect themselves? Do they have goals and dreams? We want to empower these kids to understand that you can if you will, and that means if I provide you the tools and you can embrace what we've given you, you will succeed if you use the tools we've given you. So that's the fourth piece of the program. And then the final piece is graduation. Well, let me back up. They do graduate the fourth month, but the fourth piece of the program is they have the opportunity to get involved in extracurricular activities. And we pay for it up to $150. Now, all of you who are listening, if you don't remember, I did state that we didn't have a lot growing up. And so the Batistas were the ones who were my guardian angels and allowed for me to be a part of something amazing because I ended up getting a scholarship. We didn't have money growing up. So I give back and I try to find many ways that I can to give to these kids. And they can get up to $150 a month of extracurricular sponsorship, providing they keep a 2.0 with passing grades, they remain in compliance, they give us a thank you letter expressing gratitude and an invoice and a W-9 from the vendor, we can have that child funded within 8 days. 8 days max, we will get that child funded for their program that they choose to. And that's really it. That's it in a nutshell. And it's for 3.5 hours, the program is. So, well, actually, it's 4:30 to 7:30, the first Tuesday of the month in Las Vegas, Nevada.
The program sounds life-changing for everyone involved, which is amazing. But I do have a quick question for Dr. Keith. I want to hear your thoughts on how the Change One meetings help the youth, whether it be mentally and emotionally.
The Change One meetings help the youth because they get a chance to see and hear from people who have been through exactly what they're going through. They get a chance to hear those stories, what it was like being in the homes, what it was like being neglected, what it was like feeling alone, unloved. They get a chance to hear those stories in the big group for 3 months. And then when they come to the process group, they get a chance to hear the same stories, but in more depth. And they get a chance to ask questions and really relate to the speakers and really get a better understanding of themselves so they can make better decisions in their life, leaving the bad friend groups, maybe having a better relationship with their parents, turning their grades around, finding something to get into that's positive. And so you see the kids go through the program, and at first a lot of them come in and it's like, well, I don't want to be here or I'm being forced. But when they start relating to the speakers and they start relating to their stories, they actually get drawn in. It's like, man, I didn't think anybody else was going through the same thing like I'm going through. I thought I was alone in it. I thought I was the only one. And so the kids get a chance to see that they're not the only one. And it allows them to start opening up their mind to different possibilities of changing and not having to stay in the same route, in the same system, and going back over and over again and kind of throwing their lives away. So they get an opportunity to kind of open up, and especially again, when they come to the process group and they go through their workbook, there's something special about being able to get things out of your head and out of your heart and onto paper. They're able to now see exactly what's going on inside them. So even if they don't open up and share everything about their workbook, a lot of the work is done simply by them being able to write out what they're experiencing, what their goals are, why they love themselves. Because the workbook is all tied to the affirmation. So they get a chance to go and do that. And again, within the processing group, they also get a chance to go through the affirmation and actually start talking about how to actually apply them in their lives. And so you see these children go through this drastic change, right? And then mind you, we're only meeting once a month. Some come from the career prep class, but generally speaking, as far as the program is concerned, they come once a month for 4 months. And there's a massive change with just coming once a month for 4 months, and they're able to get so much. So that's the change I've seen, especially when you see them volunteering and they come back and they stay and they're coming month after month. So now they're hearing more stories, they're getting more experiences, they're able to link up with each other, they're able to participate in an activity. And so you see their life change. And the stories you hear from participants who've been in the program, the stories you hear from the parents of that change, it's radical. Sometimes you probably wouldn't even believe it. But that's the change that I've seen in being in this program, working with the children and working with the parents and working with the speakers, work with Cherie. That's the change I've seen with the participants in this program.
And just to piggyback on what Dr. Keith said, he said a lot about the kids and being able to express themselves and being able to see that, oh, wow, I'm not the only person. That's the same thing that these parents say in the meetings, in their parent group. They feel great after leaving the parent group because they thought that they were alone. They didn't understand that there was many other parents that were going through the same thing. And it opens up just a big platform for the parents to now, they do a lot of peer counseling in there too, because one parent says something and then the other parents make the suggestion, and then our speakers are talking to them about suggestions. So the whole parent group is about helping each other, and the parents feel so much more comfortable with being open with issues that they're having with their parents, because, a lot of times in this society, like I said earlier on in this podcast, you can fake all you want and say that your family is the best thing since sliced bread. No, everybody gets along. But, the truth be told, we're in the world. And families have issues, no matter what. It can be a minor issue. It can be a big issue. But coming to the program, and these families are here, and they're hearing some of the same things that other family members or families are going through, then it makes them feel at ease to be just open about, wow, I can really be myself and share exactly what I'm going through without being looked at as I'm the bad parent. So that's the beauty of this program. And, and the other piece to that is the best thing is when the kids go home, because they have to go home. That's part of the reason why I input or created the activity piece. You have to go home. So we want you to get involved in something positive. And here's how we're going to help you do it. But not only that, the fact that the parent and the child, they're going home together. So now our Real Talk program is going to open up some dialogue somehow, some way, on that drive home, on that bus ride home, on that walk home. They are able to share what nuggets they've taken from the program, or if the child doesn't want to be as open. The parent has received some information on how-tos, have given some advice. They even get a magnet for the program that specifically gives them 10 things that they need to focus on as a parent in order to continue to have control of the house. So all of these things are given to these folks, and everything is free. And the parents can be uplifted here and take some things with them that they can utilize from what they've learned here. Even if they didn't like what they heard, they understand what needs to be changed or what things need to be looked at in order to continue to build that relationship with the kids.
I find it fascinating that the program is also directed towards the parents because, there's a direct correlation between the parent and the child. But my question is, and I'm sure others are wondering, Dr. Keith, what occurs or what is discussed within the parent groups? And are there common themes and issues you've noticed within the parent groups?
Yes. So what's discussed in the parent group generally is, kids being disrespectful, right? So that if I could say anything tying all those themes together, it's my kids are disrespectful, right? They either talk back, or they don't listen, or they don't do what they're supposed to do, or they argue with me. All those things, right? They leave. I try to talk to them, and when we have those discussions and we talk about it, we counter cultural in a sense, because it's not amp it up like, oh, they talk back to you, you need to shut them down and smack them in the face, discipline them, you need to get that heart. We don't approach it from that standpoint. We approach it from the standpoint of maybe it's time to start listening to your child and seeing where they're coming from, giving them the space to open up and share, understanding that, think about how you want to be treated. Because a lot of times we as parents, we believe that, well, I'm the adult, you're the child, so your job is just to listen to me, and that's it. But when they start looking at it like, man, would I want someone talking to me that way? Would I want someone treating me that way? And when we start framing it in that way, right? When the speakers start framing it that way, the therapist frames it that way, the parents start getting a different perspective, because then they start looking like, oh, man, yeah, I guess I wouldn't want someone talking to me that way. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want to open up to someone if they were coming at me that way. And so it's kind of like an eye-opening thing. And then what ends up happening is the parents, they start chiming in. yeah, I end up doing that too because sometimes I get so frustrated. And then the conversation a lot of times starts going to different areas, such as I'm overwhelmed. Right. So then when this comes up, I just don't have the capacity to deal with it. Or, I don't have the skills. Like the parents actually start opening up within the parent group. And then they start getting those different skills and different strategies. They start understanding and they hear the speaker's stories and their examples when they were children, and then they're able to start putting those things into practice and into place. So I would say, kind of answer your question, long story short, the main theme of what usually comes up is that disrespect, right? And the way we deal with it is helping parents to start seeing things from a different perspective and recognizing that while no, our children shouldn't be just like, obviously we don't advocate for like our kids just kind of talking to us any kind of way. Let me also just put that put that out there, right? We're talking about if our children bring things up in a respectful manner, or teaching our kids to bring things up in a respectful manner, creating space for our children to come to us instead of going to everybody else, because that's something else that happens. Like, well, they don't ever talk to me about anything. Well, you want to talk to you about something, if every time you bring something up, you get yelled at, you get screamed at, or you get shut down, no, you wouldn't. So again, they start seeing things from a different perspective, and then that allows the parents to create the space for their children to open up and share, which helps to improve their relationship drastically.
That's amazing. I have another question regarding the parent groups. Do you feel that you need to take different approaches when dealing with parents from different cultural backgrounds? Or do you believe there's common approaches because these parents are dealing with similar experiences with their children?
When it comes to the parent group now, of course, we want to make sure we're culturally sensitive as well, because different cultures have different standards within them. However, I think there's a lot of, like, for instance, communication as far as us being human, just people in general, cultures, skin colors, all that stuff aside, just being human. Everybody wants to be heard, validated, and understood. Doesn't matter what culture you're from, what part of the world you're from, everybody wants to be heard, validated, and understood. Since we don't have the time to go into everyone's culture and learn all the nuances, we try to go from just a base level like that. Like, okay, well, we know everyone wants to be heard, validated, understood. So what kind of strategies can you use to create that space within your family to make sure that your children are heard, validated, understood, and you are heard, validated, and understood? Well, I know I've been kind of talking a lot about communication, but even like discipline, for example. Well, my kids, they don't listen to me, and then I end up blowing up and screaming and yelling and da-da-da-da. I said, well, just for example, in the group, well, that's the problem. You're not being consistent with the rules that you have. This is a generality. This doesn't matter what the culture is. This is a generality. We set a rule, kids break it, you need to enforce it immediately. And if you do that, you don't have to yell. So if it's like get a bath at 8 and it's 8:01 and they didn't bathe, no problem. The consequences: turn off the games, no TV, get a bath, go to bed. If you just enforce the rule right away, then you don't have to get mad or upset or frustrated. And on top of that as well, we were teaching the parents is that when you do it like this, the kids will just understand that, oh, it's just a rule. I broke the rule. But what ends up happening is when we don't do it that way and we start yelling and screaming and talking and going on, having long conversations with them and things like that, they then take it as an attack on them. They then take it as, now we're adversarial. Now you're blowing things out of proportion because I just didn't take a bath and now you're cussing me out, or you're doing this and you're doing that. So I say all that to say these are just two examples of just generalities, regardless of your culture, regardless of where you're from or your age or whatnot. We should be communicating the right way. We should be upholding to whatever rules or standards we have the first time. Because some of these parents, some come back to multiple parent meetings, but a lot of them only come one time. So we have to pack as much as we can in and hit as strong and hard as we can with the information we have. And unfortunately, we just don't have the time to really go into the nuances of the cultures.
No, I think it's important that you mentioned that because, it might be a little difficult to motivate parents to come into these parent groups with different cultural backgrounds. And I did want to mention that you both did state that the change is consistent and drastic through these monthly meetings, but how is that possible when it's once a month? Is it because of the role that extracurricular activities play into this program?
Well, I think it's multiple things. We could have this program probably once a week if we had the prop funding to have paid employees, because let me just make this real clear to everyone listening. I've been doing this for 11 years, And there's 3 of us that run this organization, me, myself, and I. And we are all tired, but we have no funding. But we're still making it happen through God. The grace of God blessed us immensely. But back to the question at hand, we don't want to keep shoving this stuff down the kids' throats, right? Because you can have them here once a week for four times a month. They're going to get sick of it because, they're kids. They get sick of parents telling them the same thing over and over and over again. They get so sick of it and they don't want to do it. But if you don't do it, then there's consequences for your actions, just like Dr. Keith said. So the point of having this just once a month is, number one, they listen to this testimonies and hopefully one resonates with these kids. The parents hear their information from the parent group. But the bottom line is they have to go home. So what are you going to do when you get home in order to reinforce what you've just learned about the do's and the don'ts? So the idea behind that was, let's get you involved in an activity. We will pay for it. And you get signed up with that activity. You meet all the qualifications. You're accepted. Now you start doing, let's say you chose to do Taekwondo. You go to Taekwondo for 3.5 weeks prior to you coming back to the program. You're loving Taekwondo. You now it starts to resonate that, you know what? I can do things if I put my mind to it. I don't want to be like Mr. Julio, who went to prison for 5 years. So they have to start making these decisions. The choice is in their hands. So they're done with that 1 month. They do their extracurricular activity. Now they come back. They listen to 3 news stories from our people from the system. And then another closing guest speaker. So they have 4 new testimonies. Then they go away for that month, and then they do their extracurricular again, and then they come back the 3rd month and hear 3 more testimonies. So basically, we are reinforcing the negative things that happen to the people in our program. We're reinforcing to the kids that this is why you need to stay involved in Taekwondo. This is why you need to stay involved in boxing. This is why you need to stay involved in baseball. So we're reinforcing to them the fact that you're hearing these testimonies. You do not want to go down this street. You do not want to go down this road because you're not ready for that. So we're trying to reframe their mindset and sharing with them positive is great, negative is bad. And so with the negativity that they surround themselves with, or sometimes they don't have a choice because maybe the parental home, the home environment is terrible, but the activity is an escape for them. That's part of the reasons why we don't do it once a week, because I want them to find something outside of us. Because if we were to do it more than once a month, we'd have them that 4 times, and guess what? Then they're done with us. So now they have to make sure that they're making these choices without anybody else saying, hey, remember, you came here 5 months ago for 4 weeks, and you're on your own. What are you doing? So it's stretched out for 2 purposes. One is you have to go home after you see us, get involved in something positive, we'll pay for it. And the second thing is, the reason behind the length of the time is because we want to stretch it out. We want to be involved with these kids as long as we can so they can remember from that one experience coming that month. Now they know they come back next month and go, you know what? Yeah, that was a month ago. I really remember. Hey, Mr. Ray, I remember your story last month. Hey, Mr. Jack, I remembered your story last month. And then they come back and we're reinforcing what they shouldn't be involved in. And, there's other things that we're going to be including in this, like this podcast. We're getting ready to do a podcast for the kids to start their own podcast so they have a voice. Because I am a big believer that kids need to have a voice, respectfully, right? So I want them to be able to do that. There's a career prep program these kids must attend. It's the last Tuesday of the month. They are mandated to go to at least one of those career prep while they're in the program. The bottom line is I'm trying to take away your excuses, right? Because every child has an excuse, just like every adult has an excuse. I don't need to hear from the adults. They're grown. They can make their own decisions. But these are kids. We're shaping and molding their mindset. The beauty of children is that they're pliable. I don't know if you guys ever remember the Gumbies toys back in the day. You can bend them, bend them all the way over, and these are what kids are. They're resilient, and we need to make sure, though, resilience doesn't mean, though, they should be in negative environments every day of their life or have a hard life all the time. I want to at least give them 2 things. One is hope, and the second thing is to give them something to work towards, to create some type of happiness. If it's an hour and a half away from the environment that they're living in, and they love track or they love baseball, guess what? Real Talk's going to help you get to that next stage. That's what basically we're doing.
I think it's wonderful that you mentioned it's a 4-month program, rather it being like a 4-week program, because it's true. It allows these children to utilize these tools on their own while they're not here being constantly reminded of what they should do or what path they should be on. And I think it's amazing as well that you guys fund up to $150 a month per child for these extracurricular activities. My question is, and I'm sure others are also wondering, what other resources does this program offer to these children other than the $150 a month?
I make it a habit to go to networking functions with like-minded companies or agencies. I host networking events here, conferences here, to get people into our facility so they can see what we do, and also be able to provide us what services they provide, because I am always giving resources to our parents in our parent group, in our actual program. So we have a plethora of other resources that we use, from be it therapy, housing. There's just many, many more, even from financial, healthcare, all of those things available to these parents to pick up when they come through those doors. I'm a big believer of it's not about me, it's about we. The more we can work together versus me trying to do this by myself with, not having these resources, I think I do a disservice to this community. And I want to make sure that people understand that this is a we thing. It should never be an I thing, because you can't save as many lives as we've had come through those doors. I could not have done it if it was a I thing, right? You have to collaborate. If you really, really want to see change and be impacting the world, you have to collaborate, but you have to have the right people on your team. I'm a big believer of building and not being a person that just stays in their own corner and tries to do the work. It's not going to happen. It has to be a collaborative effort. And then without a collaborative effort, things don't get done as quickly as they should.
The passion for this program is definitely here, and I can see it from the Change One meetings, the career prep, Dr. Keith, the monthly speakers. That's amazing. I was also going to ask you, what age groups is this directed towards? Is there a specific age you have to be into this program?
Yes. The age is 8 to 18, and the 18-year-olds have to be in some type of school system, not college, clearly, but Clark County School District, charter schools, homeschooled. They have to be in school in order to be a part of this program. If they're failing grades, we provide tutoring services for them. We'll pay for tutoring. If they are on their way to college or want to go to college, we will pay up to 3 of their college entry applications. We just try to provide them, like I said, many, many things so they won't have the excuses, I didn't get the opportunity. Because I'm a big believer. My motto is, without opportunity is no change. If you don't know better, you don't do better. So all of the things that we provide here is really from my background and what I've been through and what I know. I've been working with kids for over 30 years. I was a juvenile. I forgot to mention my background, but I was a juvenile parole officer right out of college. And then I did that for 5.5 years. And then I went to the federal probation department. I did that for 15 years before I had to retire early medically from a back injury off duty. So I've been in the networking business per se for the last 30 years. And I've always been active in my community. I was a coach, softball coach here for young ladies at the recreational centers also, and a travel coach, a competitive softball coach. And I worked also at Child Haven here, which is a local facility where they house youth who have protective custody. So I've been around kids pretty much the whole part of my career as in law enforcement, as well as nieces and nephews. I've had over 24 nieces and nephews. So I do believe I have a little bit of insight as to what needs to happen with these kids and how many things we need to have available to them and the family in order to keep them from entering or re-entering the system. I'm all about the preventative measures. My whole goal with creating this program was to prevent kids from entering the institutions or the facilities or any type of the correctional juvenile justice system. That was my goal. We do get kids from the court. We'll always have kids from the court. Why? Because where there's laws, they're broken, just like the adult system. 2.2 million in custody as we speak, as adults. So I I really want to continue this path of creating preventative measures for these kids, and that's where I'm at. We are now with our statistics. We're at 55% of preventative kids in our program, and we've served now over 2,200 kids in the program. We have graduated over 1,200, and we have thankfully given away or sponsored over 330 kids, totaling $303,000 for extracurricular activities. And the beauty of that is, and how, literally we get money for the kids' activities. We struggle with getting funding for our overhead. That's the problem. That's why me, myself, and I are still tired.
That's absolutely amazing that the program is directed towards kids from 8 to 18, because it's important to take the opportunity to allow these kids to know the truth from such a young age. But what can these children, after they graduate from the program, how can they still stay involved within the program?
But we have it set up to where if any child that graduates, even if they don't want to get involved or weren't involved in the activity, and they want to do community service, they can definitely do that. They can sign up, they become a volunteer, and we get them all taken care of with an application, and then they can start. The other big piece to our program, which is tremendous, because we not only get the kids coming back, we get tons of kids coming back every month, and that's the kids who are getting funded. So they enter their 4th month, they're going to graduate, and let's say I've been paying for them to do Muay Thai boxing for the last 4 months. 4th month is when they graduate, and they want to continue it. So as I've shared with them all, they want to continue to get funding. The question is, can I get funding, Ms. Cherie, when I graduate too? Yes, you can. The only caveat to that is you now have to turn into a volunteer, which means you have to fill out a volunteer application. It doesn't matter if you're 8, 9, or 10, you still have to fill out an application. And then we get all the paperwork done, and they can come back once a month. They have to wear their Real Talk graduate t-shirts, and they are doing community service for 4 hours here at the program in order to continue to get funded. So, and then also the parents are obligated to give us 40 hours a year. So they too have to fill out an application. And then we have to make certain that we do a background check on them. We pay for the first one. If there's 2 parents in the household, the parent will have to pay for the second one. And then we have them go through the training. They have to go through, there's some electronic paperwork to be done. And then there's a mandatory reporter training the parents have to go through. Once that's done, they can start volunteering the next month after they graduate. So their funding will not be interrupted. So the main thing I share with the parents is that as long as the money keeps coming through, we're going to keep paying. If the funding stops, then clearly we can't fund you any longer. But they come back every month, and we have close to 40 kids a month returning. And that's the beauty of it, because guess what? They're our cleanup crew. We make sure the facility remains spotless. We have the kids clean up, break down. They're serving food. They're passing out flyers. They are taking people up and down the stairs to get to where they need to be the first Tuesday of the month. So yeah, we have tons of work for them to do. And that's steadily increasing with the amount of kids we've sponsored over the years and the amount of kids that are coming back every month. It's beginning to be a tedious process, but thankfully we are working things out. We have this big, beautiful building that was purchased for us, 10,000 square foot building, $1.4 million. One of our donors that we met, or he met me, and he actually doesn't even live here. He lives in Florida. So God has blessed the program. He fell in my lap, and that's why I keep doing what I'm doing, because this is my calling.
That's absolutely amazing. May God continue to bless you and your program. Dr. Keith, I have a quick question. What do you notice most about these children that come into the program? Is there a similar issue that they come in with, or what is it that you've noticed?
The one theme that I've seen with really all the kids that come to the program, or at least I would say all, but many of them, is trust. They don't have a lot of it. They're very guarded, very closed off, and I understand, right? And I tell them when we're in the process group, I get why you may not want to open up as much, right? I get why you're not wanting to express. We do have some that are, they're extroverts, right? So they talk, or we have some of the volunteers come back and they'll talk and they'll share and they provide a lot of great insight. But when it comes to working with children, and again, the kids I see coming to the program, it's the trust. It's that how do I know I can trust you? How do I know people have come into my life and said that they're here for the better and they've hurt me? or they've left me, or they neglected me, or they abandoned me. So I'm here, especially the kids from the system, especially them from the system. They have a really, really, really difficult time trusting. But the more they come back, similar to what Sheree was just saying, the more they come back, the more they realize that, oh no, this is a place where I do feel safe. Or this is a place where someone actually does care about me. This is a place where someone is consistent, which is why I think it's, obviously we can't make it mandatory they come back, but there's so many more added benefits when the kids continue to come back. And I'm talking about of all ages, because they start making those relationships, they start opening up, and you see the kids. I mean, there's like a family of 4 kids I've seen, when they came in, they were shut off. They were closed, like all of them, but now you see them come back and volunteering, they're opening up, they're sharing, they're smiling, they're interacting. So I would say the thing that I've seen, just traditionally with the kids that come through, generally speaking, is there's not a really high level of trust. But the beautiful thing is you actually get to see that built over time when they continue to come in, and you see the changes in them. You see the changes in their parents. You see it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and if I can respond or piggyback off of that as well, we see significant numbers, positive numbers. We do pre and post surveys. I've been doing it for 11 years now. And the changes that we've seen, the numbers that we've seen in our surveys are through the roof. Like, for instance, children who come in. Do you respect yourself more since the program? Are your relationship is better, or your relationship with your parent is better now since the program? Have you set goals and dreams? You thought about setting goals and dreams since the program? Yes. Do you think the program was effective for you? Yes. All of those different categories that I described to you, we have been reporting well over 75% of the children and the parents are reporting that that's the percentage that they are. And that's just the minimal. We've had over 80% saying, yes, my relationship with my mom or my parent has improved since the program. So I know that it's working. We just have a problem still with getting funded. So it's an unfortunate thing, but we're not going to shut down, because I know this is a needed cause, not just in Nevada, but across this nation and in the world, actually. And this program is the only program in the nation that does the things that we do.
I think it's amazing that the goal of the program is to establish a bond of trust with the children, because, as you mentioned, it is hard for these kids in the system to automatically build this trust with individuals. And the service taken before and after for the program absolutely contribute to the effectiveness of this program. I wanted to quickly touch on the affirmation aspect of the program. What is the purpose of the affirmations? And feel free to share some of the affirmations that you have for the children with us.
The affirmations are powerful. If you're not believing in yourself, that's step number one, because at the end of the day, I don't really care if you believe in me. If God believes in me and I believe in myself, then that's the first part. That's the biggest step, is believing in yourself. These affirmations are very powerful, not just for children, but adults. And some of them are, I matter. That's the first affirmation I created, because, there's millions of people. And I can honestly say I believe that. There are millions of people on this earth that don't think they matter. Why am I here? I'm useless, or I'm not, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Nobody loves me. So things like that, and here we reinforce the fact that you do matter. The other affirmation is that I am loved. That's the second affirmation. I love me is the third one. Many people, but we're specifically talking about these kids, they don't believe that they're loved. Maybe they're not getting what they need at home. Maybe they don't know how to communicate with the parent. What is love? How do you know how to express love if you've never felt love? So those are the things, I can overcome abandonment. I respect myself. I can overcome any abuse. I'm ready to make a positive change. I have goals and dreams. Those are the type of affirmations that we have. And we have them all over we have them plastered in our big auditorium. We have this beautiful piece in our stairwell that shows our stair up on our stairs, on the stairs wall, reflective of all of our affirmation that was basically donated from my good friend Vinny with Vinny's Metal Fabrications. I think they're powerful because when you believe in the affirmations, you get a sense of if you really are believing them, you're taking them in, and this is what the workbook is about. They're all through the workbook. If you really own them, it will change your perspective of who you are, and that's what we're trying to do with these kids, because a lot of these kids just they don't feel loved. They don't feel like they have a talent, and that's one of the affirmations. I am talented. So all of these things are part of allowing kids to feel good about themselves. And not just kids, adults. Like, I've had parents and adults that come in here that love these affirmations. Matter of fact, I'm just going to plug it right now. I just published a second book, and it is called Ready, Set, Glow. And I wrote it from personal experiences, but it's based off of my affirmations. And it's a pretty powerful tool, and it is for kids too. My goal is to have 13 years and up reading the book, and it's on Amazon. So I am a big believer of affirmations, and I think that it instills in these kids hope.
Yes, these affirmations are definitely powerful, and I believe the more that these children speak them, read them out loud to themselves, the more they believe that and find that value within themselves that they're lacking.
Absolutely. And I don't know if Dr. Keith had any insight on that as well.
Let me just hop in, throw some psychology in there.
Yes, of course.
These affirmations are said. It's so important to remember that we got to say it like we mean it. Because if you just read it as the words on paper, your brain, it's not going to take it as something that really, it means something to it, right? It's going to take it as just empty information, similar to like when we're driving down the road and we don't really remember anything that we saw along the way. We have to tie emotion to it, right? We have to say it like we mean it. So we can't just say like, I matter. Let's say, I matter. I love me. I am loved. I am talented. I am intelligent. We have to say it with emotion, because when you have emotion tied to something, your brain remembers it. And if you do it over and over and over again, that now becomes your new programming. So when these children are coming in and when they say it, and they say it like they mean it, and when the parents as well, when they say it like they mean it, we're not just talking about, some feel-good moment. We're talking about literally rewiring their brain, rewiring their belief systems so that they can actually start moving and acting these things out. So we talked about the changes the parents and the children are making when they're doing these affirmations. And I strongly believe that a lot of it's tied to these affirmations, because when you start believing you matter, you start living different. You start talking different. You start thinking different. When you believe you matter, you're not hanging out with the knuckleheads on the corner who are smoking and drinking and skipping school. You're not hanging out with them because that I matter. That's not going to get me where I want to be. When you believe you are loved, you're going to respond different to people. You're going to be more open with them. You're going to share more things. When you believe you're talented, you're going to start working hard and giving your all in everything that you're doing. So it's really important that when not just the people in this program, but even if you're on this podcast, right, and you've heard some of these affirmations, write them down, start saying them, look in the mirror, tell yourself that you matter. Tell yourself that you are loved. Tell yourself that you're talented, that you're intelligent, that you have the power to overcome any abuse. Like, tell yourself these things, and it's going to program your brain, and your brain's going to be like, got it, and it's going to start running that program. And you're going to see that how you start moving, thinking, acting, talking differently. And it's going to be a life-changing experience for you. So these affirmations are really, really powerful. And if you really take hold of it the way you're supposed to, your life will be changed drastically.
And I'm sorry, I want to just piggyback real quick off of that. So in the workbooks that these kids have, they go through all of these. We work on specific affirmations every month. Until that fourth month, now they're going to express themselves in that processing group. But now it changes from, instead of the affirmation saying, and this is where the emotion comes in, Dr. Keith was saying, instead of it saying on our board where it says, I matter, I love me, I am talented, I have goals and dreams, I respect myself. Now in their workbook, when they get to that processing group, it's laid out in the processing group where it says, I know I matter. We reinforce it in the workbook. They've known that they matter just by saying. We make them recite it every single month at our program. We stand them up and recite the affirmations before we have our closing guest speaker come on. Now, when they get to that processing group, it's not I matter. It's now I know I matter. I know I am loved. I know I have goals and dreams. I know I respect myself. So we reinforce that affirmation so they understand that it's yours. You own it. We can't take it away from you. You already know what you are. You know you matter. You know you're loved. So when you say it, you feel it, you breathe it, no one can take that away from you. And so we want these kids to leave this program understanding, no matter who tells you what in life, telling you you're dumb, you're stupid, you're ignorant, you'll never make, guess what? All lie. Because we've constantly repeated every single month of who they are, what they know they should be. And it's expressed through emotions like Dr. Keith was saying. That's the big picture of how we want to make certain these kids leave this program.
The emotion you both put into saying these affirmations has inspired me. Just hearing you both read aloud these affirmations to better myself, I'm astonished by the positive impact it has on the youth. And I did want to quickly ask, how can individuals interested in making a difference join, or can we donate to the program?
Great question. We are always in need of more speakers for the program. We don't necessarily care how many times you've been arrested. We don't care how much prison time you've done. The only thing we do care about is you cannot be a sex offender. You cannot be registered or arrested as a sex offender. We do not take sex offenders in our program. However, we will take a look at all the other people who've been through the system. I will do an interview with you. We'll chat. I will invite you to the program to take a look. But we are always looking for more speakers, female and male. And you can, it doesn't have to mean you've been on probation for 5 years, or you don't have to have just a prison sentence to be a part of this program. I want you here if you got arrested and did 1 day in jail, if you had a DUI, if you've been arrested for gross misdemeanors, whatever the circumstances are. We just want you to have an experience that involve the criminal justice system. And you can come and join our crew. And then but there's a process, of course. You go through some training, there's some orientation. All we ask is that you give us a year commitment to the program. Because here, listen, everybody, without speakers, this program wouldn't exist. So we are always looking for speakers. We have right now 15 on our roster, but we need plenty more because now we're going to actually now have a podcast for the speakers to address the parents. So all that takes place the same night of the meeting, but we need more speakers to filter the other pieces of the program. So that's the piece of what our needs are as far as the program, because without you speakers, the program doesn't exist.
I wanted to add one other thing. I think we actually forgot the other part of the program, the closing guest speakers. And so our closing guest speakers are professionals in the community who have had life experiences very similar to some of our the ex-felon speakers that we have, but they made different choices. So we need also those speakers to come in and not only share their experience and how they got to where they went. So some of the people we've had business owners, we've had, Supreme Court judges, we've had, within Nevada, we'll get the federal ones too eventually. We've had police officers, we've had a real estate mogul, we've had so many different people come through, an architect, a guy that owns an architect company. So many different people have come through and shared their experiences and shared how, yes, I was in the streets at one point in time. Yes, I didn't have food in the fridge. Yes, my parents weren't there. Yes, I was in the system. Yes, I did it. Not the system, but they were, what is it when kids they don't have parents? Like the foster care system. There you go. They've been through all of these different experiences, yet they made different choices that allow them to get to where they are in spite of the abuse, the abandonment, the neglect. And so we also need those professionals who are willing to get on board and help and speak at the end of our meeting.
Yes, and to piggyback off of that as well, I don't find out some of the people we've had in here as closing guest speakers that I've known personally, but I didn't know some of their background included some of that, what Dr. Keith was talking about. But you don't necessarily have to have that type of background, but you can just have a background of not experiencing these things, but share how you evolved to become who you are. So we need you as well. But to answer the second question about funding, We need funding. We need corporations to jump on this team. We need more grants to be written. We have to pay for a grant writer. So we would love to have any in-kind donations. Feel free. We'll take paper. We'll take pens. If you want to sponsor our golf tournament that's coming up, and it's at TPC Summerlin, we have that annual golf tournament. The end of February next year. It's going to be our 5th year. So we would love to entertain any audience out there that is willing to want to just even sponsor a kid at $1,800 a year. We're looking to do that as well. So whatever you feel is in your heart to give back to this community and entertain the fact that you will be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, we always welcome. And you can visit us on our website at realtalkyip.org. You can give us a phone call at 702-625-2417. Our social media handles, we're at Real Talk YIP, and that's for our Instagram and also for our TikTok, Real Talk YIP. And then we have our LinkedIn, same as it's Real Talk YIP. And then just, hit us up at the office anytime. Reach out to us. We have someone here pretty much every day, and we are always looking for people to come join the cause.
That's amazing. Thank you for mentioning your social media tags where we can find you guys at. As well, Dr. Keith, did you want to mention your social media tags?
Yeah, honestly, and this is not like a flex or anything like that. I guess I've been doing SEO pretty well. If you literally just type in Keith Fairclough, that's FAIRCLOUGH. If you just search that, you'll find everything. You'll find my Psychology Today. You'll find my YouTube. You'll find my LinkedIn, my TikTok, my Facebook. You'll find me all over the place. So yeah, just type in my name, Keith Fairclough, and you'll find everything. My website, all of that.
And I wanted to make certain I forgot to mention our Facebook page is Real Talk NV. That's Real Talk, N as in Nancy, V as in Victor. Check us out. Please follow us. We're trying to get as many people as we can to follow us and like us. We're looking forward to hearing from you guys, and pick up a copy of my book, Ready, Set, Glow, on Amazon. I promise you it's going to change your life. Come join us.
Thank you so much for sharing today. I appreciate the time you both took to answer these questions that me and others have. If you want to mention anything else before we quickly end this podcast, feel free to.
Be good to yourself and be good to others.
That's amazing. You guys heard it yourself. Be good to yourself and be good to others. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
I like to think of change. No more gang banging. No more dope slanging. While they're hanging, I'm just saying, I'm just praying. Hey, praying for a sign. Time to get right and time to get my shine. So divine, the Lord in His grace. Mistakes I can't make.